Back on the hard. This is Inconceivable's new home for the foreseeable future. We're at Demiglio Marina in Brooklyn. They've been in business for 80 years, family owned and operated. These guys know boats. They're already taking care of us. They put us next to power, water, we've got a light. We'll be here for a while. We're going to totally redo the interior. We're going to turn Inconceivable into our dream boat. Bulkheads got smashed. There's a chain plate knee that has parted with the hull. There is a bunch of furniture that you can just once you start examining these little pieces, little cracks here and there, you can start to see where there's real damage. And it's pretty extensive. It goes from the bulkhead in the water closet to, I think it's water closet. If the head of a sailboat, maybe you guys know, the head of a sailboat, our head is split between like a little sink locker and where the head, the actual head is, the toilet. There's little separate rooms. What is that? I call it the water closet. I call it the head and the water closet. I don't know, maybe somebody else did. Anyway, from that bulkhead to the engine compartment bulkhead, there's significant damage from basically the water line up. So we're just going to pull all of that furniture out of there. It's going to extend our stay here considerably, but to get this boat to where we really want to do some extended cruising, I think it's necessary. Make it more comfortable. Anyway, welcome back to Brooklyn. We never left. We're still in Brooklyn. So the damage to Inconceivable's top sides, while it appears cosmetic, I mean, I'm going to kind of argue both sides. It looks superficial. It looks like scratches in the gel coat. It is not. These are gouges, 1 or 2 layers into the fiberglass. It's not a critical structural element. It's not insignificant. It needs to be fixed, but it's not hard. I'm just going to grind this out, glass it. I've got the right tools. I've got the right materials. The most important thing here is there's no damage below the water line. There's the paint's rubbed off the boot stripe here, and you know, some slight scratches in the gel coat, but there's no damage below the water line. That is, I can't stress how great that is, how important that is. So yeah, we've got some grinding and some glassing to do on the top sides. The real work is going to be this toe rail. Let's get up there. Hold on. So the real work is going to be fixing this toe rail. The bond between the deck and the hull is right here. There's a seal between the two, but judging by the malleability of this material, it's probably just like a butyl rubber or some type of other compound. It's not an adhesive, and it's glassed on the interior. There's a glass between the two, the hull and the deck. You know, 1 or 2 layers of glass, but it's really this toe rail with, you know, every 8-inch bolt. There's a stainless steel, looks like a 5/16 inch bolt every 8 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches, 7 inches, 6, 7 inches. But that's through the toe rail. The toe rail is like a clamp that holds the two together. Actually, it is a clamp. In woodworking terms, this would be considered a clamp. That is structural, as well as cosmetic. I mean, this is teak, and it's old teak, but there's still was still good structural integrity. So that has to be replaced. And I don't know if any of you have recently looked at the market for teak, but you know, 31 plus feet of 5/4 teak. No, 62 feet plus, because there's the shear. It's prohibitive. It's cost prohibitive. So we're looking at alternatives, but that's going to be the real work, especially kind of relatively remote. I've got tools, but these are all things that need to be considered. Oh, look at that bolt! It's bent on like 80 degrees. There's 5/16 inch bolts going through this joint. That's going to be some work. You know, we're doing the starboard side. We kind of have to do the port side too. It's going to be a different wood, whether it's black locust or, you know, some other similarly weather-resistant material. We're not going to do plastic. I've decided not to do aluminum. It's expensive. I can salvage some, but it's not going to be exactly the right spec. It's not going to be the right dimensions. I'd rather not compromise. Plus, when you look at the plans, and you can see it on this boat's shear, it's like an inch to approximately midships, and then it starts to increase. There's a flare as it follows the shear up forward. The toe rail gets wider. There's an aesthetic to this boat, a very, very deliberate. That's a deliberate thing. And I kind of want to follow that. I kind of want to respect the vision of the designers, the Cuthbertson and Caspian. Those are the names in CNC. They designed fast boats, but they were also beautiful boats. So I'm going to respect that. But that means a little more work. That means a lot more work. But we'll do it. I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's just amazing stage. Oh man. This Cove Stripe, I just see that's 2, maybe 3 layers deep right here. Looks like a layer of woven, then a layer of chop strand, heavy chop strand too. And I'm gonna have to get the tow rail off before I do any of this, because I'd also like to sand, and I'm thinking of repainting. I'm also gonna have to, oh look, there's a piece of his boat. Oh man. Oh, there's a piece of his boat. I mean, look at this. This must have been, this is an equivalent piece to like this gunnel, or, you know, he had the hull to deck joint. This is called an inboard flange. You can see where the hull comes in and the deck overlaps that. That's called an inboard flange. It's a more challenging, it's a more expensive method of manufacturing a boat, because when you join the two, you need a guy inside and a guy outside when you put these bolts in. His boat, this is a piece, I'm guessing, I could go over and look because the boat's here. I'm guessing this is part of the joint. I don't know that for sure. On his boat, he had an outboard flange. That means the hull goes out, the deck comes out, and they're joined there. One guy with, you know, tools can just put those bolts in fast, drill them. It's a much cheaper way of manufacturing the boat. The problem is when that outboard flange hit this, you know, 3/16 inch piece of aluminum rail, it just knocked it right off. You know, as his boat bounced along my boat, while he did make all of these scratches in Inconceivable, it literally ripped his hull to deck joint off. And that boat is now, I just found out today, is destined to be chopped up. It's a 33-foot long piece of plastic that's going to be broken into chunks and put in a landfill somewhere. And to me, that it was a really nice, pretty boat. The interior is mint. It's so beautiful. Tons of teak. I don't want to get into it. It's a sad story. The short of it is Inconceivable is going to be repaired. That boat is going to end up being garbage. It's terrible. But it just goes to show you get what you pay for. Solid boat, garbage. They both experienced the same event. I'm gonna need some help when I come to pulling these bolts off. We'll be getting some help. The amazing thing is, once we posted on social media that the accident happened, the outpouring of support from our friends and family has been incredibly overwhelming, including offers of help. People just like, give me a call. And it's incredibly heartwarming, and I thank everybody for their well wishes. And I know the people watching this now that didn't know about it when it occurred are probably feeling similar emotions of support, and I greatly appreciate it. Lynn and I greatly appreciate it. It's both heartbreaking that this happened, but also it's inspiring. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's encouraging, inspiring. I'm looking forward to doing this work. I always like working on Inconceivable. I would much rather be sailing her, but this boat is so worth putting time into. All right, enough. I'm not going to start today because it's supposed to rain. But this Cove Stripe, it's amazing how it got rubbed off along here. It's kind of astounding, and it looks like it's had a red Cove Stripe. This is called a Cove Stripe, by the way. This little line just below the gunnel that follows the shear, it's called a Cove Stripe. And you can actually use a Cove Stripe. I'll put the link. There's a web page where you can use Cove Stripes to identify manufacturers. Each manufacturer has a different design for both the stern and the bow design. There's a graphic that's included, and this Cove Stripe is actually in the mold. It's molded into the fiberglass. It's a useful method to identify boats, and it looks like Inconceivable's Cove Stripe at one point, before it was red, it might have been kind of a goldish yellow. I kind of like that. When you look around, most sailboats seem to have red as their Cove Stripe. This is the boot stripe down here. Most of them are red because it looks nice when you've got either a green or a blue bottom paint. Red, white, and blue looks good. The red, white, and green looks good, but we might change this color. I haven't talked to Lynn about it yet, but I mentioned to her that I'm thinking of painting Inconceivable because this, which I believe, yeah, this is the original gel coat is in horrific condition. And here, I don't know if this is because the boat rubbed it away, but we're almost into fiberglass here, so it's probably abrasion. But even where it's not damaged, it's 50 years old. This boat next year, she was launched in 1971. This is an old boat. Yeah, so, and that's the original gel coat. It's probably been buffed a few times in the past, but it's seen its days. So we're going to paint this boat. I really can paint this boat. Probably keep it white. There's a great L. Francis Herreshoff line. There are two colors to paint a boat, white and black, and only a fool would paint his boat black. I love that line. And while I really love a blue-hulled sailboat, I think it's a really classy look. The traditional white, there are reasons boats are white. It's visible when the boat is upside down. That's one reason. Also, they just look great, and they're visible when they're right side up too. In fog or at night, you're much more likely to see a white hull than a dark hull. So there are reasons for. I should do an episode on the reason for nautical terms, the reason for certain technologies, why they are on boats, why boats stick to certain technologies. That would be a good episode. And the reason we know knots, sailors know knots. It's kind of like the cliches. Like when people meet me, I've heard that several times. You must know a lot of knots. I do, because it's important to know these knots. It's not just, you need to know how to tie things down. We'll do an episode on this ship. It's really cool. At least I think it's cool. Then it's going to roll her eyes. Yeah, so that's enough of me blabbering.